Okay, so welcome back to the pre-cut magic piecing class. Welcome back. This is our wrap-up session for our live class that has been running for the last few days. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you didn't come to our first session, then hello. I'm Jo Westfoot, and I am from the Crafty Nomad, and I have been the teacher this weekend. I just want to introduce to you my assistant Tracy, who was helping out last time and is helping out again this time. So if you missed us last time, this is Tracy. She will be popping links into the comments box and answering any technical queries in there. So do pay attention to the comment box if you're interested in the links I'm talking about. Thank you, Tracy. That's great. Okay, so I hope you've had a lot of fun over the last few days if you have joined in with the class. Um, Tonight is for me to go through all of the questions and the comments that came up during the weekend. And also, I will be sharing lots of the lovely baskets with you. So lots of pictures that were shared. I'm going to share those with you. And I'm also going to announce our prize winners. So quite a lot to get through. If you had a question and you didn't ask it in the portal, then this is your chance to type it into the comments box here and ask the question. Whilst you're looking at the comments box, I think you can only type into it if you're logged into YouTube. So that's just one thing to mention. We would love to know where you're joining us from. I've seen some comments already in there from New York, some people from Leicester in the Midlands, some people from Germany. So we've got a real mix of different countries and people joining in. So really lovely to see those comments. As I said, Tracy's going to keep an eye on them to make sure I don't miss any important things. But if you do have a question, if you just preface it with the word question in capitals, it just helps us to spot it a little bit more easier amongst the other comments that are there. The more you comment in there, the more interaction we have, the more fun the evening will be. Okay, so let us know in that comment section whether you have gotten around to making your basket and what experience you had with doing that. We would love to hear about it. There have been some wonderful comments in the Facebook group and in the portal. So you guys have obviously loved doing the class, which is fantastic to hear. So thank you for all your thank yous. I do hope that you've learned something new and perhaps are feeling a bit more confident about embarking on making an item like this in the future. I've seen quite a lot of comments about people being happy that they had a purpose to use for a little pre-cut charm pack, one of the mini charm packs. So if that's all it's meant to you, then I'm glad that we have given you a purpose to use up that mini charm pack. Now, I mustn't forget to mention, now a small group of people had access issues overnight last night. Obviously, it depends where you were in the world as to whether that was overnight for you, but for you in the UK, it was overnight. It was the problem was with the platform that hosts my classes. Now, it didn't seem to affect everybody. It just seemed to affect a small number of people. So I'm really sorry about that. Obviously, it's out of my control. The tech team did resolve those issues this morning. But it meant that for some people, they were without access for around about 14 hours. So because of that, I'm extending access time from, it was meant to be Tuesday at 9 o'clock UK time. I'm extending that until Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. So you've got an extra full day to have access to the classes if you missed out because of that technical issue. So I'm really sorry if that affected you. I would hasten to say, and Tracy would back me up on this, it is highly unusual for there to be any access issues in the platform. So, of course, it's just typical that it happens on a weekend when I'm running a free class. So, once again, apologies if that affected you. But hopefully, it has given you a really good insight into how I teach. And if you do like it, we would love it if you would pop over to the courses page and see if there's anything there that takes your fancy, particularly within the Quilt Hive membership, because that's where most of my classes sit, in that banner, in that club. Remember, we've given you a special code to join, or a special link, I should say, to join. And if you join before the 10th of May using that code, you will get £10 off your first payment. Now, as I said, that runs out on the 10th of May, so make sure to use it before then. If you are thinking of joining, we would love to welcome you into the Quilt Hive. As an extra incentive, for anyone who signs up for the quarterly or the annual membership, tonight during our live session, I will be including for you a recording of my quilt planning webinar. Okay, so that's an extra incentive for you if you sign up during tonight's live session. So if you're thinking about it, Tracy's got the links. I think she's going to be popping them into the chat. The first one that's going in is for that joining of Quilt Hive with that special discount link. And then the second one, if anyone's really interested and wants to sign up tonight during the live to get the extra incentive, it must be signing up on the quarterly or the annual rate, but if you do, you will get the recording of my quilting planning webinar. So she's popped that in if you want to have a look at what it is. Okay, let's now talk about those specific questions that came in during the weekend about this particular class. So Lily had a technical question about the interfacing. So she was talking about the gridded interfacing that I've used, which is by Bosel. And her question was, where she lives, the brand Vliseline is more readily available. And so she was asking, if I was to compare the Bosel to the Vliseline product, which one would I recommend as a substitute? And it's an absolutely brilliant question, one I should have thought of. But what I wanted to point out to you was this little booklet, which is from Vliseline, and it comes with a little stapled booklet like this. And this one is actually a sample booklet. So you can buy these, they're available. And in fact, I've given Tracy a couple of links for these within the UK. I haven't found a link in the US anymore. But this is a fantastic product for you to have at home and be able to just sort of test and feel what each of these are, because they are actually pieces of the actual interfacing, whatever the product is. So this was really helpful to me to obviously be able to grab out and quickly compare what I was using for the Vliseline alternative. Now Vliseline do I think this is under the brand, by the way, Vilene, I think, in the US. So we call it Vliseline here, but I think in the US it's called Vilene. And they do let's see if I can find it. They do what they call the quilter's grid, which is basically a similar product with the grid. Very faintly, you can just see that line just there. And that's a similar one to the Bosel, because it's already pre-printed. They're printed at an inch apart, but it's still totally fine for the purpose of what we've done. It's a similar weight, which is great. But of course, not everybody will want to go and buy this. They'll want to use what they've already got at home. And so the next question was, what would be similar, to the regular interfacings without the grid on? Now, I looked through a lot of this, and actually, I think the G710, it's a little bit heavier, but it's not got that stretch to it that some of the lighter weight ones with Vliseline have. So I think Lily was asking about whether she could use H180, and when I was feeling H180, it just felt too stretchy, and I just felt it probably wouldn't do the job as well. So I recommended a slightly heavier one. Now, that said, I really think use what you've got, so don't be put off because you haven't got the right thing. have a go and make one and see how it turns out. They're all slightly different, and of course, it's going to vary depending on what else you pair it with. So in the videos, I paired the medium weight interfacing with some batting because the heavier weight interfacing was better with the lighter weight or the thinner or less loftier batting compared to the foam that I was using, which I paired with the lighter weight gridded interfacing. So it's just sort of swings and roundabouts really, and seeing what you've got available. But as I said, really helpful little booklet. I think one of the links that I found, they were selling them for 1.95, and if you bought a product from there, you got it for free. The other one was 4.95, but I have seen it for as much as 17.95, and that's in pounds. Obviously, I'm not sure what that would be in dollars for the States, but I'm sure you can probably pick up this sort of thing in the States as well. It comes with the booklet, and the booklet tells you more about each of the products. So really helpful to have in your stash. Okay. I did see that Tracy popped a
There's a
question.
question from Helen.
Lovely.
It said, I've just put it into the comments so you can see.
So Helen's just sent a question. It says, would it also be possible to stitch the bottom edges to the basket to make it even more boxy? Yes, absolutely. And I'm looking about and I can't see it, but I've used the very same technique when I've made a bag. And so I think the pattern that is for that bag is in my pattern shop, and I think it's called a intermediate shopping bag or something like that. Tracy might try and find the link. It's not something we've got keyed up, so she might have to pop off and find that. But you absolutely can add in some of that more kind of structured stitching that you've done on the side. You can put that around the bottom edge. For a very small item like this one, it might be a bit tricky. It makes it a lot bulkier to put under the sewing machine. But it's absolutely possible, definitely. So yeah, give it a go. It will kind of shrink it in a bit more, so it might be a bit smaller. So it's just something to bear in mind. But yeah, you can absolutely do that, Helen. Okay, let's go back to the questions I've got down here. So, also a question from Helen, not sure if it's the same Helen. The question was, would it be an option to use a pen, either a ballpoint or a felt tip pen, instead of a pencil to mark the lines on the regular interfacing so it shows through to the other side? She says, or is that not recommended because of bleeding or shining through the fabric if the fabric is white or light? And I said, yes. I mean, I would be very wary of using a pen for that reason of potential ink bleeding out onto the fabric, plus obviously what she says about the white and pale fabrics. Which is why I deliberately chose to use a pencil. Now, what she then went on to say in the conversation was that she had used a Frixium pen. So if you are familiar with Frixium pens, they look a little bit like this. These are, I'm going to say they're heat erasable. They're actually erasable with friction, which is why they've got this rubber on the back to rub out. And they were designed to be used on paper. They've never really been designed to be used on fabric, although they are a very popular choice with lots of sewists. But they don't ever disappear completely. And so I have them in my kit. I use them occasionally. I certainly use them when I'm videoing because they show up better than the air erasable pens. Um, but it's not something I would ever use on the front of a project. So that's just as an aside, because as I said, they do come back in very cold situations. Plus, on some fabrics, they just don't disappear properly. They leave like a white residue mark. Now, in this instance, where we're talking about using them to mark in the grid, as soon as you put your iron over the top of your squares to fuse them in place, all your lines are going to disappear. Now, that doesn't really matter if you're just using, the kind of the natural gap between the squares to know where to fold it. But if you wanted to be able to see it through it, this is not going to help because it's obviously going to disappear as soon as you fuse the put the iron on to fuse the squares in place. So I probably wouldn't use that. I'd stick with a pencil, try and get a pencil that's got quite a heavy lead to it. I don't know what the ranges are these days. It's a long time since I've thought about that, but you want one that's going to make quite a dark line that you will be able to see through the back. Okay. All right. Next question was a technical one from Ruth. Ruth was having trouble downloading the workbook, so I added a little video into where the question came up in the portal showing you how to do that. So if anybody is struggling to download the workbook, please let me know. You can email me or you can add a comment into the portal um, or for a technical thing like that. I want you to be able to have that workbook to download after you lose access to the class because it will be a good reminder. Now, it doesn't have pictures in it or diagrams particularly, but it is a lot of the text that I say, and therefore, I don't know, 3 months down the line, you come and want to make another one. It will be enough to give you a reminder of how to make it. So if you haven't downloaded it already, do make sure to download it and save it to your PC somewhere so that you can refer back to it if you need to. Okay. Suzanne said, what if your mini charms are slightly bigger than 2.5? She was using a K Facet mini charm pack and it was coming out just a wee bit bigger than the 2.5 inches. And my answer was yes, some do come out a bit big. In fact, even the Moda ones were tiny bit big on one that I made. And it had a tiny overlap and it worked just fine. Okay, so it really doesn't matter. It just to be careful when you fold them together to make sure they're not flipping back. I ran my finger kind of along the fold inside just to make sure that they were all sitting nicely up against that fold. Interestingly, when I used a Figo Studio pack, they actually came up quite a bit smaller and left a bit of a gap between the squares. So they do all vary, which is, it's just not a perfect cut. They do vary. Okay, Grace had a great question. She said, can you use 505 to adhere the bosal if you don't have fusible? Yes, absolutely, that's fine. People normally chuckle at me when I say why I don't use 505 spray to baste my quilts, and it's because I had an experience once where I used it and I had gel nails painted onto my fingernails and they peeled straight off with the 505 got on them. So it's something I generally don't have in my stash because I don't want to risk my nails peeling off, having spent a lot of money to have them put on. So yeah, that's the answer to that. But if you have got that, a few people did use that, totally fine to do that. Denise has come up with a really good suggestion. So she says she's got a possible easier method of cutting the foam to size. What she planned to do, instead of cutting out those little kind of rectangles where we were boxing the corners and the way that I showed you to do it, she came up with a much easier way that I found myself going, why didn't I think of that? So she said she was going to draw around the patchwork onto the foam first and then just cut 1/4 inch inside the line all the way around. Yes, it sounds like a blooming brilliant idea and a great alternative. And sometimes the most obvious things escape my brain. So definitely that sounds like a great idea and I would recommend it. Let's see. A few people had issues doing the last bits of the boxy corners. So those really chunky bits when you stitch down here to make them into that boxy shape. Okay, so a couple of tips for that. One of them I know I mentioned in the video, but just to reinforce, when you are putting this under your presser foot, don't start right at the end. Okay, so if you start right at the end, your press foot's going to struggle to get on because it's so chunky. It's got to go kind of up a step, right? You could obviously use the hump jumper to help you, but I actually find if I start about 1/2 inch, into this line that I want to stitch, and then do a couple of stitches forward, and then when I reverse, I go all the way off the back. It's then flattened it down enough for me to be able to then stitch straight on and carry on to the bottom. So that's the first thing that should help you with that. Definitely have your walking foot on. It will really struggle without a walking foot on, so that's a definite. And the other thing to say is to have a think about what needle you're using because at least one person said that they broke needles when they were doing that. So um, having a new needle on your project is probably going to help, because if it's blunt, it's going to really struggle to get through all of these layers, especially if you're using foam. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, maybe try using a tougher needle. Okay, so a denim needle has been designed to be stronger to be able to go through denim, so that could be something you look for. Microtex needles are much sharper, and so that potentially could be easier and better for you. Alternatively, there are the titanium needles that are really, really super strong. So, think about the needle you're using. Maybe you need to use, a stronger needle, or perhaps even a slightly bigger needle if you're using a really fine one in there. Okay, I think that's all of those. Okay, next question was how long do you have access until? I said that earlier, but I just reiterate it. It is now Wednesday, the 7th of May at 9 a.m. because of those few technical issues that a few people had. I've extended it an extra day. So that's when you have access until. This particular video, if you're tuning in halfway through and you missed the beginning, I will be putting the recording of this into that first section of the class. Now, that section you will continue to have access to beyond the 7th. So anything in that top section, section 1, you'll be able to have access to. But all of the pre-recorded videos teaching this method will disappear on Wednesday. Let's have a look. Yes, apart from the fact that if you're a Quilt Hive member, you will have access to them via a slightly separate course within the Quilt Hive area. So if you choose to join up to Quilt Hive, then you will have continued access whilst you're a member. The next question was, is there a minimum term for signing up to Quilt Hive? Yes, but it's only based on which pricing option you opt for should you choose to join up. So there are 3 options. You can either choose to go monthly, quarterly, or annually. And if you sign up monthly, then obviously your minimum term is a month. Now, when you sign up, recurring payments are set up automatically. So, at the end of the month, a new payment would automatically come out of your credit card. If you don't want that to happen, you can cancel at any time. And when you cancel, even if you were to cancel, a week after joining, you would still have access up until the end of that minimum term that you had joined for. And then it would just stop at the end and no more payments would be taken. There are instructions on how to cancel inside. So I try and make it as easy as possible for people to, join or not join as and when they want to. Prices are in British pounds. So if you are from another country, your credit card company will automatically do the conversion at the time of payment. Okay, let me know if there are any more questions. Tracy, have we got? No, I'm getting a shaking of head. So let me know if you've got any more technical questions about the class or about Quilt Hive. Any of that will do, and I will answer the questions. I know some of you have already chosen to join up to Quilt Hive, and that was lovely to see. So really welcome to you. If you are still on the fence, remember that discount code ends on the 10th of May. And that special deal that I told you about earlier, obviously is only for signing up during this session. Okay, so if there are no more questions for now, I'm going to scoot ahead. So in a minute, I'm going to be taking you over to the Facebook group to show you all of the lovely makes that have been shared in there. Really inspiring to see all the different fabrics that have been chosen, but also really good to look at the comments that people have made in there about when they made their basket. So we'll be looking at some of those. Some people did some really interesting little different things. There were some variations in the handles, excuse me, which I think you'll be interested to see to give you some ideas for what you might want to do. So we'll be looking at that. But before we get to that, to get into the Facebook group, you had to answer a question. I briefly mentioned this in the last live, and the purpose of the question is to keep the bots out of the group. Okay, so that's why there's a question to get into a group. And the question was, what skill do you want to learn or improve the most? Now, the answers are really interesting to me because they often inform me what I'll be teaching about next within Quilt Hive. The more I know about what people want to learn, the more I can then, do classes on those subjects, basically. And the recent kind of topics, if you like, that people have said that they want to learn are pretty much all topics that we have available as classes in the Quilt Hive already. And so I wanted to just quickly show you, before we see the bits and pieces, I wanted to quickly show you let's just do that. I wanted to quickly show you what the classes are, basically, that are in there, and specifically the ones relating to the classes that you guys highlighted as being areas that you wanted to learn more about. And I mentioned at the beginning, the last live session, that the vast majority of people really, really want to improve their accuracy. And I get it, I really do, because when I go to quilt groups, and I visit quilt groups quite a bit, and they have their lovely show and tell bit at the beginning or at the end, and it's so lovely to see all the nice makes that people make. And yet you can almost guarantee that somebody, when they're holding up their beautiful item that they made, they will say, oh yeah, but don't look at that bit, it's not very good, or don't look at this bit, the points doesn't match, or don't look at the corners, or don't do this, or whatever, and it's just heartbreaking to listen to it because they've spent hours, right, making this beautiful item. But I get it, we all want to improve our accuracy. And so the first class in Quilt Hive is all about learning how to cut more accurately. And so I show you how to cut, large cuts, small cuts, how to use different rulers, how to make things easier for yourself, how to get more accuracy, how to use them, correctly. So we talk about that in a lot of detail. And the next class is called precision piecing. And so in both of those classes, we're actually making an item. So there's a fun little pouch that we make with little squares. But I also cover some of the most common shapes that we would make within quilting. So you've got your half square triangles, your flying geese, quarter square triangles, and some of the plain squares. And we talk about that. We talk a lot about the scant quarter inch, so that your blocks come out the size that they should come out. So really good couple of classes in there that would cover that issue for you. And the next one is called Finishing Beautiful Quilts Every Time. And this one, again, is just really to help you perfect your quilt. And so we talk about lots of different things in there. A lot of what we're covering in this class here kind of dips back in and out of other classes that are within Quilt Hive. The next thing that people mentioned that they wanted to learn in more detail was quilting. And they just, some people just said it in general, just machine quilting. Some people specified free motion quilting or walk-in foot quilting. A few people actually specified ruler quilting. And interestingly, we've got a ruler quilting class coming up within the next few months. I've got a guest teacher coming in who will be teaching the basics of ruler quilting in a class for you or for Quilt Hive members. So if that's something that's interests you, then obviously, either join now or just stay tuned for when I announce that one. But these ones that I'm going to just show you the pictures of now are the ones that are already in there. This is walk-in foot quilting part 1. There are 2 parts to this, and it just shows it shows you how to use your walk-in foot properly, how to use the markings on it. It also shows you how to do I think there were 12 different designs, so 6 in part 1 and then 6 in part 2. So it's all done with the walk-in foot. You can see various designs there, which are really fun. That's just a shot of it put together. So these were kind of quilted in blocks, and then they were put together using the quilt as you go technique down here. So that is another class that's in there. Another machine quilting methods, matchstick quilting, really popular for modern quilts. And in this class, I show you how to do that effectively, and also how to make this fun item where you leave a part of it unquilted, which is fun. We do have an introduction to free motion quilting. This is a class that kind of has three different parts to it, because I actually run a whole course, like a 4-week course on introduction to Freemason quilting separately and outside of Quilt Hive, but I only do it once a year. And so this is quite nice to have in Quilt Hive, because there's a section in there for complete beginners, there's a section in there for confident beginners, and also a section in there for intermediate. So there's kind of something for everybody in that class when it comes to Freemason quilting. This one is a fun one that's included in there as well. And this, I've called this whole cloth machine quilting with a monogram. And really I wanted to show how you could incorporate different Freemason quilting designs together to make fun designs, basically. So that was a really fun one. And then hand quilting as well as a class in there on that. Another thing that came up that quite a lot of people commented on was that they wanted to improve. They either said their corners or they specifically said binding. Now, this is an area where people often struggle to get a really nice crisp finish. Whoops. Let's go back and look at that again. And so, you know, we've got this class now, and this is the class that people say they go back to over and over when they come to make a quilt, just to double check that what they're doing. So there's a calculator in there for you to work out how many strips to cut for your binding, and also there are, I think, 2 or 3 methods that I cover in here of how to add your binding on. We've then got one on curved binding. We've got one on adding like a faux piped binding to your edging of your quilts, which is really, really lovely. There's one about facing. So if you prefer the modern look of not having a binding around the edge of your quilt, but you don't know how to do it, this class teaches 2 methods of doing a facing. So you've got one where it's mitered and one that isn't. So that's another good addition to your skills. This one's about facing irregular shapes. So if you've ever wanted to make a shaped quilt, this shows you how you can add a facing to that. Somebody mentioned curved piecing. I think there were 2 or 3 people that mentioned curved piecing. And we've got a class in there on curved piecing with templates. We do have one without templates as well later on. Oh, we've had a few people say about applique. Some people specifically said needle turn, but we've got 3 classes in here on applique. So there's raw edge applique, which you can just see there. We then had a guest teacher, so Sonia from Fabric and Flowers came in and she taught needle turn applique, so you'd have access to that as well. There was also one called no frame machine applique. If you're new here and you don't know me well, I'm not a fan of hand sewing. So personally, I like things to be quick techniques and quick methods. So this is an alternative to needle turn applique. We had a few people say English paper piecing. There's a class in there on that. And we also have a class on foundation paper piecing. In fact, we have 2 classes on foundation paper piecing in there. One is this one, and you can make a table runner with the word bloom on it, some flowers. And then there is the method of freezer paper foundation paper piecing, which is slightly different. So you don't rip out your papers with this one. So there's a class in there about that as well. A few people said they struggled to collate their fabrics. We've got a class in there on that as well. And then we had 1 or 2 say they were interested in improv quilting and improv patchwork. So we've got 2 classes on kind of introduction to improv, where we look at different blocks and we look at curves and we look at design as well. So not just making improv blocks, how we might actually design a quilt using those techniques. We've then got 2 classes on improv alphabets in there, some curved and some block. Somebody mentioned just yesterday, I think, that they wanted to learn how to do Dresden plate blocks, and there was a class added late last year using the Dresden plate. There are 4 different designs just there, which is kind of fun. And then these classes that I've added in here, kind of like some of the others that are in there that don't necessarily relate to ones that have been specifically chosen, but they are kind of popular classes. So Freemason embroidery was a really fun one. We've then got inset shapes, circles and organic shapes. I'll show you how to sew those. We then make that into this design, the funky forest, the overlapping shapes, and also how to add trapunto. So this is where it kind of bumps up a little bit more textured than normal quilting. We've got a class on Y seams and partial seams, modern cathedral windows, planning your creativity and your creative life, fun one on porthole windows, decorative stitches. Oh my goodness, the amount of decorative stitches we have on our machines these days that we don't know how to use or when to use them. So I thought it'd be fun to have a class on that. We've got a class on free motion words and notebook messages there, which is super fun. And a how to do a zip about a bound zip for a pouch, which was a really fun one we did just before Christmas. We recently had a guest teacher in, Monica Henry from Penny Spool Quilts, who taught kind of a way of using up your scraps that was a little bit more ordered than improv, which was a fun class to take. And then we had twists and curves, again creating texture. So you can see there's a real lovely mix of different classes, and this was the latest class that's been added, all about how to use bias tape to create designs on your quilts or on your projects. So another fun one. Then there's some of the free bonus classes in there. So we've got the fold up tote bag. We've also got an informal book club where I basically put books that I've read that they're fiction books, but they have some sort of creative slant to them. And of course, we have guest interviews. So each month we have a live session, and sometimes during that live session, we have a guest join us and we have informal interviews. And these have been some of our previous guests just here. Okay, so I know that was a lot to get through, but I just wanted to show you and give you a bit of a flavour about what is inside the quilt hive. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch away from that, and I'm going to pop over to the Facebook group where we're going to take a look at some of these lovely baskets that have been shared. All of these comments popping up. Okay, let's scroll down and we can take a look at some of these that have been shared. Do we have any comments or questions that have come in actually? Tracy, I can't see you at the moment, so you'll have to pop your
Sorry, I was about to sneeze.
Ah!
Apologies. I was trying to sneeze before I unpaused. Sorry. There was a question about the ruler quilting sign
Yes.
up, but I've answered it in the comments on the YouTube, basically saying that the ruler class will be within Quilt Hive. It's not active yet, but it'll be coming in the next few months. You did say that, but
Yep.
I just wanted to reiterate
Yeah, no,
it.
that's great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Is there any other questions or
no, that's all.
okay?
Oh, hang on. Janice says, I can't seem to cut through two pieces of fabric. It's always half cut and I have to go back or the ruler moves. Time to change your rotary blade, Janice, I would say.
Yes, that was the first thing I was going to say is when was the last time you changed your rotary cutter? It could be, Janice, that you're struggling with the amount of pressure to push down to make the cut. So if you have got issues like carpal tunnel syndrome in your wrists or perhaps arthritis and you get pain in your wrists, you know, people that suffer from that are finding it really hard to make those cuts. So definitely replacing your blade more often is going to be helpful to you. The other thing about the ruler slipping, I'm just going to grab actually something to show you if I can. Please.
Janice says, even with the new blade.
Okay. It could be not struggling to push down maybe.
Maybe the cutting table is too high as well, because that can affect the amount of pressure you're able to push down if your
Good
table's
question actually.
higher.
Yeah, are you standing up, Janice, when you're cutting, or are you sitting down? Because if you're sitting down, you don't get as much pressure coming through your arm as you're cutting. So standing up is generally better if you can. So just something to bear in mind. The other thing that I was going to say, in fact,
Jo, we can't see you.
I know that's what I just realised. I'm just going to stop the
Just
share and
unshare.
come
Yeah,
back. I
that's it.
wanted to show you this. this little gadget here is something that can go onto your ruler and hold your, it will sort of stick. It's got a suction cup here and it will stick onto the ruler. And you can then hold the ruler kind of with this rather than holding the ruler with your hands like this. And some people find that they get better kind of purchase or control with the ruler by using one of these. So that could be, you know, an option for you. The other thing that I do suggest to people that have got arthritis, particularly, and like I say, I don't know if that's the case with you or not, but is and you can't cut with a rotary cutter, is to maybe look at the cutting systems. So I think there's Sizzix, I think, have a cutting system. There is another one on the market. I think it's called Go. I can't remember the different brands now, but there are a couple of brands out there. Basically, it's like a machine that kind of you wind around and it kind of has these dies that go between two different I can't think what the name is that I'm looking for now.
Oh,
The
I've got one.
what are they called?
Good question. I've got it right here under my
Plates.
feet.
Like plates. So the die
Plate,
sits
yeah.
between two plates with the
AccuQuilt.
fabric
It's the
in.
AccuQuilt.
AccuQuilt. There you go.
But
That's the
the
one.
other thing that Caroline in the comments has also brought up is the true grips that you stick onto the back of your rulers to help them
Yes.
grip the fabric. And that's potentially the cheapest alternative to try
Yes.
before you try anything bigger.
Yeah, so they're like little stickers that stick underneath the ruler, and again, they kind of stop it slipping around so much. So there's
Ooh.
quite a few different options there that you might
Yeah.
find helpful.
We've got another helpful suggestion
Excellent.
from Jenny, who said she once had a problem cutting because when she changed her blade, two blades were stuck together and she
Oh
hadn't
yeah, I've heard
realized.
that before.
I've
Yeah,
done
and
that.
you get these funny little cuts, don't you?
And
That
you
happen.
suddenly, it suddenly looks like the fabric's fraying, and a bit like it
Yes.
does on the edges of a jelly roll. It feels
Yeah.
like it's doing that. I've had that
And
happen, so that's a good
and they
suggestion as
basically
well.
put a bit of oil, don't they,
Oil,
between them,
yeah,
you know, and it's really hard to sort of separate out the blades without cutting yourself. So
yes,
maybe put a pair of gloves on, you know, whilst you're doing that, so you don't cut yourself, and it's easier to separate them out.
yeah. Oh, I
Great.
love that everyone's commenting and helping on this
Helping. I
issue. It's
know.
really
It's the
good,
best
and
bit, isn't it?
this is what Quilt Hive's like. When you're in Quilt Hive, this is
Yeah.
what happens.
I
It's
know, it's
really good.
nice.
Lots of problem solvers.
All right, shall we go back and have a look at those fantastic makes? Let's share that page again and then we can start scrolling through them. Brilliant. Okay. So I'm gonna just scroll through the page. So this person, I don't think this is your name, Junk Dazzy. I'm sure this is not your actual name, but this person has made this lovely quilt with beautiful fabrics just there. She says, first time making anything like this, so much fun. Thank you for the pattern and the tips. And the fabric, if anyone's interested, is Moda Parlor Charm Squares. So that's lovely. Let's scroll down. So I've been sharing little mosaics of some of the made items. So you can obviously look at those. This is something I shared in the Facebook group. If you're not in Facebook, you'll have missed this one. It was just basically saying what my Instagram handle is and also asking other people to share theirs if they want to follow other people that have been taking part. And quite a few people are putting their Instagram handles in there. So if you want to share that in there and follow other people that have been joining in, it's a great way to find other quilting accounts. So maybe take a look at that. This is Stephanie's project. She said this was a fun project and really my first quilting project other than my pot holder. I loved doing this and learned so much from the videos. So I'm in my mid-70s and have been sewing since I was about 8 years old. But this was my first experience using a hump jumper. What a great little helper. I made this for my grandson to keep his little trinkets in. He'll be 6 this coming weekend and pick the colours. Isn't that lovely? Really beautiful. This one is by Suzanne. Finished my first basket having to make my own gridded interfacing. Fun quilt along. Thanks, Jo. Always for the great instructions. Oh yeah, this was cool because Suzanne used cork for the handles. So here she hasn't made handles using fabric. She's used the cork fabric. Doesn't fray. It's great to use. Good alternative, really sturdy. So yeah, really fun thing to use. This one by Robin. She's decided, I think it's a she or he actually. It could be either, couldn't it, with Robin? They've decided not to add handles on, so there's no handles on this, but it looks fantastic as it is, really neat. And they say, here's my storage basket, one mini charm pack down, four more to go. Fun project. Thank you, Jo. You're welcome. Oh, this one's a really fun one. It's another one. Lots of grandchildren are getting these little baskets. It says, Jill says, here is my completed version. I'll be giving it to my neighbour's son, sorry, whose second birthday is at the end of the month and may like dinosaurs. So we've got some lots of dinosaurs on there. Super cute. Lots of people have been admiring that fabric. Valerie's finished basket. I loved the story behind this one. So Valerie says, finished my basket made with scraps from a quilt. I'm just completing for a friend who recently went through cancer treatment. It will be a cute little extra when I gift her the quilt. Thank you for a wonderful class, Jo. Oh, what a lovely, lovely gift to make your friend. I'm sure she will love it.
Jo, I
Reese-
know, sorry to interrupt. I
Yep.
know you're scrolling so we can see the comment, but that means we don't often see the whole picture. So as you scroll
Thank
down, could you double
you.
pause
Thank
like
you.
that?
Yeah, I'll do
Perfect.
that. Yeah, let me
Yeah.
read it first. So, yeah, so thank you so much for this course. Can't make tonight. Oh, that's a shame, Ruth. We'll watch the replay. There we go. With lots of blue batik fabrics there. So, yeah, really pretty. Some purple lining. And so Reese decided not to stitch the corners down. So a few people decided not to do that. Either the machines were struggling with it or they just decided they liked the look of that kind of more rounded basket. Totally fine, obviously, to do that. Suzanne's basket. I think this is a third. Is that Suzanne's? That's Sue. Oh yeah, this Suzanne. Yes, that's Sue. It's a third basket. She's been on a bit of a roll with these in all the purples this time. Kathleen, another one without handles. So see, like another negative comment about her own work. See, I always see stuff like this, and it always makes me go, no, don't say anything negative. I think it looks beautiful. She's saying it's not her neatest work. She said definitely be making more. So I think that's absolutely lovely and really neat, nice and bright and colourful. And this is Chris's basket. She says made for a friend, lovely pattern. Thank you, Jo. Actually, I didn't have any foam to make it stiffer. I'll use that next time. Um, she said also my machine didn't like the thickness, so she didn't do the top stitch inside, but she'll definitely be making more as presents. So yeah, really pretty peach and mint fabric combination there with a gift already inside, which is lovely. And this one by Kate, oh, she did make me chuckle. She said, carefully photographed to hide the oopsie handles. A definite learning experience. Thank you for the sew along. I had to question what she meant by this because I couldn't see anything wrong with these handles. Apparently, one of these at the back is not in the right place. But we obviously can't see that and it looks fantastic. So brilliant. Well done. I don't think I'm going to be able to get through all of these tonight. There's so many. This one's from Leslie. She said, I loved making the little basket and learned some new techniques. Used a mini charm pack from Moda, Très Jolie, which she'd had no idea what to use for before the class. So that was perfect timing. She hasn't decided if she's going to do the corners as boxy yet. And she's been inspired to go back into Quilt Hive modules to do them. So yeah, that's great. There you go. It's really lovely pale blue inside. Lovely pastel colours. This one from Lynn. I really enjoyed making my little basket and learned a lot too. So that's lovely. Nice soft colours. Great project. Enjoyed it and learnt so much from Sharmila. And there is her project. Looking very lovely. Carol said, here's mine. I kind of fussy cut a single fabric with 2-inch motifs for the outside. Oh, that's right. I love this. I thought she's got to win the prize for the most interesting use of this this basket. It's going to be used for carrying African pygmy hedgehogs, of which they have three. So I just thought that was just amazing. What a fun use for that basket. Amy had made her second, and she had says made from leftover charm squares, including the lining and the handles. More Franken batting, so she had joined the batting together, and it was ready to give as a gift. So lots of fun fabrics in there. Some nice beads. That's quite a sweet one. Jenny, yes. So Jenny said a first try making this little basket. She had some Decaville, which she used instead of batting or bosal. She says, bit of a mistake as it makes the bag very stiff. She says, will be useful to keep stuff in, but we'll try again using the proper inside. Enjoyed the class very much. And yes, oh my goodness, when I heard she had used Decaville, I think my comment was, yes, I expect that was very difficult to work with. Decaville is a completely different product to batting or foam because it's not squishy. It's almost like a hard, thin kind of plasticky, cardboardy kind of a product that goes inside bags to make them really stiff. But it is not easy to work with, and it definitely wouldn't have been my go-to choice for this one. But we're there with use what you have, you know. So yeah, I can see. But doing those corners, that would have been incredibly hard. So yeah, really tricky to use. Let's see. Helen is partway through making one, but had to nip off to do more family things, and that's looking lovely. Got a lovely one from Jilly, already in use. That's looking lovely. I love those colours. I love text fabric. So when I saw that one, I was like, oh yeah, I like that. Nisa has got three prepared at once, and she was struggling with yeah, this is a good one to talk about. So Nisa is making using, sorry, I should say, just regular interfacing, so it's slightly heavier than the gridded interfacing. And so one of the suggestions that I made in the class was to trim off the edges or to cut through carefully with a pair of scissors so that you could perhaps open up those seams in case it was coming up a little bit chunky. And she was finding that really difficult to do, so was needing more time to do it. And my response was that actually one of the baskets I made, I didn't open up those seams with, I used the heavier interfacing and I didn't open it up, and it's doable completely. It's just a little bit chunkier on those seam areas, so it's just something to be aware of. If you're finding it hard, try doing it without cutting them open, just the way we've done with the other interfacing, and just see how you get on. You might find it doesn't affect it at all, and it's totally fine. Another completed basket there by Lindy. That's looking lovely. I wanted to show you some. So this one, let's see, by Tracy. I loved what she did with the handles. So she's used the mini charms to make the handles as well, and it looks really fun because again, it's all the same fabrics, or the colors, I should say, and they're working really well together. So yeah, really lovely.
Just to point out, that's not me. That's a different Tracy.
That would be a different Tracy, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think you've made one, have you, Tracy?
I haven't had time, but actually, I've been at an event all weekend, a sewing event. So I will be doing one on Tuesday afternoon. I've already picked out my charm pack from
nice.
a friend of ours who has her own fabric printing company.
Oh, we'll look forward to seeing that then.
Yeah.
Good. Do post it in the group. There we go. So Cindy says, used 2.5-inch squares that I already had for a scrappy basket, made my own grid, and first time using foam. So yeah, thanks for a lovely class. Great. Glad you enjoyed it. This is Helen's with all the pretty florals, and Helen says, I used fabric for my scraps, Vliseline H200 for the interfacing and Vliseline 640 as batting. She says next time I might use a decorative stitch for the top stitching after turning the basket, which I've done in the past and always looks great. The additional stitching at the corners to give it a more boxy shape is fantastic and transforms the basket. There you go. So there is that one, looking lovely with a matching pillow, I think, behind it. Have I missed some? No, it's just got scooted on. There's Leslie's, the lovely blue. This is actually Leslie's second, oh, first one. Leslie has done two. I don't know if we've just missed one or if they're out of order. A lovely Christmas one from Viv. One of Roberta's. I think Roberta's, is Roberta made two or is that somebody else? I'm getting confused now. But look at this. I just have to say I was blown away by this quilt that's hiding underneath it. So this basket has been made using scraps from this quilt down here. And oh my goodness, just look at that lovely quilting on there. I was like, it's so beautiful. And this was Dawn. So Dawn's done a really interesting one. So Dawn didn't have any pre-cuts. So what she has done was really interesting. So she's taken a piece of fabric, so one piece of fabric, and she has fused it to the grid. Now, see, it had a stripy pattern on it, really chunky stripes on it, and she's then done the stitch together design to almost create this second design with this fabric. So really clever use of the fabric. So I loved that. Really interesting. We've got another roundup there. Another, this is Angela, and Angela also used the mini charms on the handles. And again, looks really effective. It just ties it all in together and looks really, really lovely. Rosalind has used handle webbing, so bag webbing. So this is not the fabric, and obviously if you've got webbing you can absolutely use that instead for handles. You could have used ribbon, you know, or cork, obviously, as I can't remember who that was now. Oh, my brain's gone dead, but somebody else had used the cork, which is really good. So lots of alternatives. And Claire loved the combination of the video and the written tutorials and made this lovely pink version just here. And we've got a lovely one from Dee. And she was amazed at how that last step, you know, made it so boxy and changed the shape so much. It really does, doesn't it? It just transforms it into a different, totally different look. Amanda said she had a slight labour of love, given that my old faithful machine struggled to cope, but we got there. She said, this is my return project, having had to dust down my sewing machine after years of not sewing at all. So yeah, it looks really, really lovely, Amanda. Well done. Some lovely encouraging comments there. Glad you're back to sewing. Yeah. This is Jennifer's, and she said, enjoyed making the boxy storage bag. Did not enjoy sewing the corners. What a challenge that was. With the thickness of the foam, my sewing machine objected greatly. But we'll use this method again, as love the overall finished look. So there you go. It's worth persevering, isn't it? Even if it is tricky. Okay, Kathy says, thank you, Jo. I've never made a bag of any kind. I wanted no handles because I'm placing this on my fabric shelf to hold bobbins. She said, oh, bless you. I know it's a little wonky. Got to stop pointing out these wonky bits, haven't we? But I will be making more until I can say, oh, that's good. Oh, well done, Kathy. I think, you know, hats off to you for jumping straight in and giving it a go. I think it looks great. So well done. Pretty fabrics. Michelle's just there. She's enjoyed doing that. It looks lovely, Michelle. Well done. Leslie's finished basket. Really cute fabrics. I love this. I've got a feeling I might have some of this fabric somewhere. But I'm really sweet with the little chickens on. Lovely colours. Jill's all in those lovely carmine blues. And Jill used a 5-inch charm pack, so she cut them into 4 to use them. She's used the F220, so that's another Valaiseline product, I think, and Annie's Soft and Stable instead of the Bosal foam, and 505 spray, just like the other person mentioned earlier. So yeah, very cool. Here's a lovely basket from Sarah. Cut the squares from a jelly roll. There we go. And then Carolyn made 2 tiny ones. So she had squares that were, oh, sorry, she had the gridded interfacing was 2-inch squares. And so she cut 2-inch squares from scraps to make 2 tiny baskets. So these would have finished up probably around 6 inches. wide, so really quite small and diddy. Cute. Lovely one by Mary. Thank you for the magic piecing lesson. Just finished my quilt, my basket using offcuts and interfacing that I gridded. Perfect. One from Diane. She says, made from stash with most left over from a quilt. I realised the foam stabiliser I had wasn't iron-on, so 505 came in handy. So there's quite a few people been using that 505 spray for that. Another one of the collages. Elaine has got hers ready to make and hopefully getting onto that soon. She might have done that already. That was yesterday. Who knows? I think we might be there. I think there were more than that. I don't know why they're not all showing up. But I think if you go into the Facebook group and maybe go into the media, I wanted to do it this way because I wanted to show you the comments. But I think if you go into media, you might see a few more. So I am going to stop that share and come back. There we go. Do we have any more questions or comments, Tracy, before I move on to the main part of the evening?
No
No.
more comments.
Lovely. All right. Well, in that case, we need a bit of a drum roll because we're gonna have the prize time winner announcement. So just as a quick reminder, we had 5 prizes. We had I think 4 sponsors. So we had one of our sponsors was Purple Stitches. Purple Stitches is a company in the UK, and I think Tracy's going to pop the link into the chat. Purple Stitches is my local fabric shop run by a friend of mine, Viv. It's a great fabric shop for quilters and also for dressmakers because they stock quite a lot of dressmaking fabric as well. Lovely shop to visit, but also they have an online shop and they also go to lots of the shows as well. They're quite often, Viv's quite often known as a zip lady because she has so many different coloured zips available, lots of different funky kind of zip pulls and things like that. Excuse me. So yes, if you're not familiar with that shop, do go and check it out. And she was offering up a £30 gift voucher. And that goes to Tracy Walters. I don't know if Tracy's here tonight, but that goes to you, Tracy, and I'll be getting in touch with you probably tomorrow, maybe on Tuesday. Tomorrow's a bank holiday, isn't it? Our next sponsor was Morris Textiles, and Morris Textiles is a company run by Lisa. Lisa is a Brit, but she lives in the States now, and she runs Morris Textiles, and it's a company that kind of specializes in all things British to do with sewing and quilting. And she has a particular love for Liberty fabrics, but she does stock lots of British fabrics in there, lots of British pattern designers. She'll stock those things. So really lovely selection of fabrics that you may not be able to get elsewhere if you're in the States. So a good one to check out if you are a Liberty lover. And she is offering a Liberty bundle for one lucky winner. And that lucky winner is Valerie Kraus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing all these names right, so I apologize if I'm making mistakes. But I think Tracy has popped the link in there for you. Our third sponsor is Shayla and Christy from Sassafras Lane, a mother and daughter team who visit lots of the shows in America and have an online shop there. They also design patterns. Christy is a long arm quilter and Shayla designs fabric ranges. She's got a new fabric range coming out really soon, which I absolutely adore. Really bright and colourful and rainbow. Just my sort of thing. In fact, I think that project behind me is actually made with one of her ranges, and so is that one. So yeah, she makes lovely bright fabrics. She has offered up a $50 gift voucher to one lucky winner, and that winner is Stephanie Pirret. I'm not sure again if I've pronounced your name right, Stephanie. Hopefully I have. But obviously I'll be in touch soon. The next sponsor is me. So I'm providing two prizes. The first of which is a choice of three of my PDF patterns, excluding the block of the month programs. And that prize is going to Angela Humphrey. So again, I'm not sure if Angela is here, but I will be in touch about that prize. And then our final prize is a 3-month membership to Quilt Hive, and that is going to go to Chris Orban. So again, I don't know if Chris is here tonight, but you are the winner of the 3 months membership, and I will be in touch soon to let you know how to go about redeeming that. So that's the prize bit all done, which was super fun. Tracy has put lots of links in there. Please do make sure that you are on the newsletter so that you can find out about all the other fun stuff that is going on at the Crafty Nomad in the future, be they sewing alongs, new patterns, new classes, other kind of collaborations that I'm participating in. I'm working with a small group at the moment on a really fun collaboration that will be coming up in the summer. If you've been here for a little while, you may be familiar with the British Sew a Row project that ran in 2022. Or was it 2023? Getting confused. I think it was 23 and 24, and then we might have had a break for. No, I'm getting really confused. It was 22, 23. We had a break for 24, and then we're coming back for 25. So a small group of us British designers getting together to create a fun design. And so the first one was called the Jubilee Quilt, which was about all things British. The second one was based on an English country garden design. And this third one is coming up, and I'm not allowed to tell you the theme just yet, but it's a really good one. You're gonna love it. We've been playing around with color combinations this past week. The designs are pretty much all there now, and it's looking fantastic. And I'm really excited about that. So as soon as I can share that with you, obviously I will, and that will be in the newsletter. So be on the newsletter to find out more about that. But other than that, just thank you so much for kind of trusting me with your time, for coming along and taking the class, making your item and sharing it with us. It can be quite nerve-wracking sometimes to share your work in an online forum, and so I thank you for being brave and doing that. I really hope that you've enjoyed it and learned something new. Please do keep sharing the baskets that you make within our group, and the group's not going to close. It'll be there, ongoing in the background, and we will obviously run other sew-alongs in there as well. We love to see your makes. Everybody loves to be inspired by different fabrics, different choices about how to do things, and comments that you make from things that you found out whilst you're making it can be really helpful to other people, as you may have found out obviously tonight as I read through some of those comments. Just a quick reminder that access to the class will close Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. The discount code for Quilt Hive ends on Saturday, the 10th. But remember, if you do sign up now, you will get if you do sign up now for the quarterly or the annual memberships, you will get that bonus webinar recording that I mentioned earlier about planning your quilting. I will be adding that in manually, so that is something that's manually added. I think that's everything I've gotten written down on my sheet just here. Just again, once again, thank you so much. I'm going to just have a quick check-in with Tracy to see whether or not there have been any more comments or questions that I need to address. She's shaking her head at me, so I think we're
don't
good.
just talk for 2 more minutes while I get the last few links put in.
No problem. I don't think I've ever had a problem not talking, to be honest, Tracy. I very rarely am I speechless. So I think we're good with that. You carry on adding your links in. And I'm going to have a quick look through here to see what people said and if I missed anything. Oh, that was really interesting. I did miss something. So this was when I can't remember who it was that was asking us about cutting. Sue put in a really good comment, and I hope you saw this. It said the Creative Grids rotary cutter is weighted, so it helps with the cutting if you've got wrist problems or carpal tunnel. That's a really good product to know about. I don't think I know about that one, so I might look that up, Sue. So thank you for mentioning that. And Robin said she bought cheap blades once and it didn't cut well at all. Yeah, you can definitely make that mistake, can't you? I know Tracy's bought some super sharp blades before that are really expensive. They're titanium ones, Tracy. Which ones are
Mm,
they?
mm.
Yeah,
They are, I get them from Barn Yarns, but I have seen them other places, and they're a gold color,
right.
actually.
They
And
last
that,
longer unless
yes.
you nick them, right? So unless you
Oh,
nick
yeah.
them,
I mean, you
you're
nick any
gonna,
blade, you're done
yes.
for.
But if you're using them normally, they last longer, right?
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely.
And you've managed to get all the links in, have you?
Yes, I was just trying to quickly find that rotary cutter, but
Uh,
I'm not quick enough.
don't worry. Thank you for trying. That's okay. We appreciate that. Brilliant. Okay, so great. Lots of great comments in there. I hope you've all been kind of like looking at the comments whilst you've been watching. Um, there's some, yeah, some really helpful comments from other people. But yeah, thank you so much for joining in with us. Like I say, I hope you stick along, stick around for the ride, either by following on Instagram, Facebook, the newsletter, somewhere where you can keep in touch with what the Crafty Nomad is up to. We would love to welcome you into the Quilt Hive as well. That would be fantastic. So yeah, thank you so much for coming along, and hope to see you at some point in the future. Bye for now.